Welcome to the 2-Month Review, the weekly podcast brought to you by Open Letter and 3%, in which we take one giant book, break it down bit by bit, section by section, talk about it, analyze it, have fun, make jokes. I'm Chad Post from Open Letter Books, joined as always by Brian Wood, author of Joytime Killbox.
Hi, Chad. You sounded really uncomfortable with make jokes, like you're choking on your own words.
Not funny anymore. There's no funny left.
We've talked about it like a long time ago, and it's even like more true than ever that there's just no room for parody anymore. No. It just has to be originally funny because you can't actually make fun of anything anymore because it's just sad and everything's sad and laughable.
We've entered into the R. Kelly video phase of existence of late capitalism, where like the parody of an R. Kelly video is an R. Kelly video. The parody of America is America.
Yeah. Are you referencing like his opera? That's
brilliant.
His urban opera, Trapped in the Closet stuff.
Trapped in the Closet.
Yeah.
So my favorite thing of that ever was when there's the Trapped in the Closet with him watching it and annotating it. And he'd be like, oh yeah, here's the part where I'm going to get trapped in the closet. And then the lyrics are like, I'm trapped in the closet. I'm going in the closet. You're like,
so I pulled out my gun.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, parody's hard. Humor's hard.
It wasn't very palatable when it came out, and boy, did it age poorly.
Yeah.
It's like, man, that thing aged about as well as like bread. Like, blah, done.
Well, anyways, so this season we are doing ARDOR or ARDOR by Vladimir Nabokov. And we are today going up to page 290, which is through chapter 40 of part 1. And at the end of this episode, for everyone who's watching live and for anyone who's listening to it, we'll announce what the season 14 book will be, since we've settled on that. We're ready to make that an official thing. But first, let's talk about this. Well, you know, speaking of America as a parody, last week we had the debate as like the main topic to start things off. And this week we have Trump having COVID and like miraculously getting out of the hospital, ripping off his mask and charging full frontal into like full unstoppable madness into Twitter again.
As he open mouth breathes, chomping at air.
Space Force, vote!
Like a 70-year-old chain smoking waitress at Bob Evans.
Totally healthy.
Yeah. Oh, you're doing great there, buddy.
Yeah.
No, like again, you cannot parody that. You cannot do a parody of this because we literally have President Trump on steroids right now.
Yeah.
He is literally on steroids. This is what you get.
The most insane amount of information ever. That tweet storm is still this thing's a legend. But
I'm gonna start just using a Sharpie for everything too. I think that's a fantastic idea.
When I fill up my self-evaluation, I'm just gonna be like doing lots of work and just have pictures of me signing blank pages with
like a giant crayon.
I do book.
Yeah, like anytime I have to fill out any sort of application or forms, I'm gonna use a Sharpie. You can't. There's not enough room for me to put my address in here because I'm using a Sharpie. So.
I love like when they just like kind of bleed through too. So it's like this large, thick lines.
Imagine how far have we come? Like it used to be, you know, like you dip a feather in a pot of ink and you scribe with like very carefully to just a Sharpie with a fist.
Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's exactly what we've become.
Oh fuck. So how about
a lot of demon? We get a lot of demon in this section, right?
We get a lot of demon finally. We sort of like we're hoping for it last week, and sure enough, this first chapter, is it chapter 38? Yeah, 38 is a long. Like all these chapters have been so short, and this one's like so long. Out of nowhere. There's a lot of demon seed.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
And I think this is a really interesting trick that Vladimir was doing in this part, but I'll see if it worked or not. Did you have any bit of like feeling or sympathy for Van when he was interacting with his father and his father's behavior?
A little bit.
Yeah, wasn't that a weird trick that he did on us?
Yeah.
He's like the just before that, absolutely despicable. I hate him, and I probably couldn't hate him any more than at the end of our last section. And then like he sets us up for that, and then the next course he brings in Demon, and you start feeling kind of bad for him a little bit.
Yep.
It's such a fantastic way of manipulating the reader. I thought it was fantastic. It was really wonderful.
It really is. It reminds me, I probably said this before, but there's a lot of Anna Karenina and Pushkin stuff in this again, but
Sure.
of the Anna Karenina way in which you're led into like disliking characters only to have them reversed, or like someone gets in a pull against them where it pulls your sympathies towards them. Like it's what makes that book so like amazing and well crafted and such a lasting classic. And this does use that same sort of technique. This is going to be, speaking of parody, or I can't do parody. So the TV show The Boys on Amazon Prime has a similar, not exactly like this, but the superheroes are like awful, horrible people. But yet, even when they're awful and horrible, there's scenes that are set up where you feel like sort of sympathize with them and feel like they're more complicated than just like single dimensional evil people. And that, trademark of good art.
Yeah, because like up until now, I felt, I didn't feel like there was a lot of complexity with Van. It's just lust, right?
Yeah.
And it's forbidden lust, and he's pursuing it and satiating it, and so I don't like him. But then with his interactions with his father, and setting up how much he idolizes him, and like I'll die for you, Dad.
Yeah.
Right? And then seeing the way his father behaves in this, almost like in like twirling his mustache kind of way, right?
Yep.
I mean, like to bring it back full circle to what we first started speaking about with President Trump. I heard that, I don't know if it's true or not, but the story, I like the story of it, so I'll pretend it's true for now.
Yeah.
That he went to, I think it was Don Jr.'s dorm room. They were going to go to a Yankees game. And so Trump was going to take his son to a ball game. Wonderful father-son American tradition, right? Great. And so the roommate tells the story that, so he shows up with a Yankees hat on, Don Jr. does, and his father slaps him in the face. He's like, "What are you doing?" Like slaps, like makes him want to cry, right? Like slaps him right in his face, makes him want to cry. He's like, "Take that off. We're Trumps. Like go put on a suit and a tie. We need to appear a certain way when we're in public." And so like here's like this, like young adult that's excited to go to a game with his dad, and his dad like slaps him in the face and says, "No, like act like you're part of the family. Put on your suit." So he like cries and puts it on and goes out to see the game with them. And you see the monster that he is now, but like that could be something that really shapes who you become later. And I felt like we got that sort of a glimpse with Demon and Van in chapter 48.
I agree. Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. So there's the Demon's not very cool. I want to ask, like, I was reading this.
Demon is not very cool.
Not very cool.
Kick-ass name, terrible person.
Kick-ass name, for sure. For sure. There was a moment I had as a question here. Does Demon sort of know that Van is boning Ada and is cool with it?
I feel like in this chapter, everybody knows.
That's what I thought.
There were sprinklings throughout where the handmaid or the servant lady, I can't say her French name, but she's writing a play about what they're doing, or my servant knows your servant, and you guys are all over the place. A lot of gossip, or like. So I hear you like lots of positions, like they drop little like, what do you? Oh yes, like walking on my hands, like that. Like there's all these lines that keep getting dropped. Like everybody knows what they're doing, and it's kind of. Did you ever play The Legend of Zelda, the original NES game?
Way back when, yeah.
One of my favorite rooms is like you find this secret room and it has a jewel and it's worth like 50 rupees or whatever, and it says it's a secret to everyone. And I feel like that's what this is. It's like that weird shh. this is a secret. Everybody knows about it. Don't talk about it. Like,
yeah, very true, very true. That's very, like, it was weird experience reading it because I was like, I don't know what was known. There's so many great bits here that that really characterize Demon as being horrible. So
but before we go to that part, I think the reason why it's a secret everybody knows about and nobody talks about it is probably because it's the same thing that the parents had done and perhaps the grandparents had done. It's like this, like it's the sin of the father and it's the sin of the grandfather. Like it's the same. And so they know it's happening. And so they kind of maybe ignore it or like make jokes and puns about it.
Yeah.
And then the people that don't have the power to do anything about it can make plays about it and gossip about it and find ways to put it into the world and talk about it, but not actually address it head on.
Right.
It's clearly a problem and it's clearly not being addressed.
Yes. Yes. It's like the cycle is unbroken.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
Yeah.
This is like where Nabokov becomes like a Riverdale writer.
Yeah. Like I thought, like the one I think just so we're actually using literary references and not, just shooting from the hip the entire time. On 249 was the example I first kind of noticed. Let's not bother about their private jokes, said Marina to Demon. I can never understand their games and little secrets. Mademoiselle Lavière, however, has written a wonderful screenplay about mysterious children doing strange things in old parks. But don't let her start talking about her literary successes tonight. That would be fatal.
Yep. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, like, clearly.
Yeah. The part that I focus in on, there are two. The first one is on 243, where where Demon's like, how do you get along with Ada? She's almost 16 now, very musical and romantic. And he says, we are close friends, said Van, who had carefully prepared his answer to a question he had expected to come in one form or another. We have really more things in common than, for instance, ordinary lovers or cousins or siblings. I mean, we are really inseparable. We read a lot. She is spectacularly self-educated thanks to her granddad's library. She knows the names of the flowers and finches in the neighborhood. She's altogether a very amusing girl. And then the next part, he's like, the dad on 244, Demon's like, by the way, the Dupre woman tells me that her son has enlisted and will soon be taking part in that deplorable business abroad, which our country should have ignored. I wonder if he leaves any rivals behind? Goodness, no, replies Honest Van. Ada is a serious young lady. She has no beau except me.
Wow, was he drinking brandy as well at that point? They're both just torched.
We're both just like lit.
Stupid. They're so stupid.
Yes. And then there's the other part where he's like, she likes what all our bells like, balls, orchids, and the cherry orchard. And I feel like there's one other part where it's not coming to me right here, but I thought there's one part where he's basically like, yeah, we have the same taste in ladies. Like with his dad. You're like,
oh my goodness. Yeah.
But yeah, the little bits about his dad, when we talked about like the demon seed last week. So 238, his hair was dyed a raven black. His teeth were hound white. His smooth, glossy brown face with its trimly clipped black mustache is all very like, evildoer sort of coded language. And then on 239, you look quite satanically fit, Dad. It's like a really great yeah. Your name is Demon, so this makes sense, but it also feels like more than a demon.
Yeah,
just a joke. Although that was one that I just don't get. You look, so the whole paragraph reads, you look quite satanically fit, Dad, especially with that fresh eyelet in your lapel eye. I suppose you have not been much in Manhattan lately. Where did you get its last syllable? Homespun pun in the Venus vein. I don't know what that, I didn't get that. Did you get that?
I'd have to read it again.
Okay. That was like a joke that went right over me. I just marked it as like, don't know what that is. Almost like there's the other one. When I was your age, I thought that the sweetest word in the language rhymes with billiard.
I didn't Google that, but I was in my head trying to guess what that was. And someone will probably call us an idiot and duh, it's this, but yeah.
Yeah, if anyone's watching, please tell us.
What rhymes with billiard and is the sweetest
Yeah.
Sweetest word in language.
Yeah, I couldn't figure it out either, and I forgot to look it up.
Yeah, he arrives almost like a specter in a way, right? I mean, he kind of.
Oh my God. Okay, we would never know this, or I would never know this. The word is milliard, milliard, which is 1,000 million, or in other words, a billion.
Okay.
So I knew it had to do with money because it goes into money stuff, but I was like, million doesn't rhyme with billiard at all. And I couldn't think of it, but yeah, so it's like a word that we dive. I didn't know.
I don't know that word.
Yeah.
I don't know money. I don't even know like $20.
Dude, like, seriously.
I just lost my stimulus package, man.
Yes.
I don't want to talk about
You're on the dollar menu at McDonald's. I'm not really.
But yeah, he's extremely devilish. Shows up, and it's almost like the entire time that he shows up in this thing, he's just devouring libations, this gluttonous kind of meal of just excess, and then just talking shit about everybody and everything, and just wrecking everybody and everything, and then just off.
Yeah. And then just leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're doing another line there. That's very black of you, Dad, which is a great other reference to his like Manhattan tan skin is what someone says. That's the joke.
Ah, got it.
Manhattan. Where did you get the last syllable? Tan. Homespun pun in the Venus. Thank you. That is so super helpful. This is why. Oh yeah, he did say he was in Acapulco. Is what that's referring to.
Yeah, it was a weird way of. It's like the weird anti-terra Acapulco, though, right? It was like a strange.
Yeah, Acapulco. I offered myself in a few to Acapulco.
If the Russians took over Mexico and named things.
Yeah. Yep.
I totally sidetracked you with talking about Demon a little bit there, but you were going to take us a different direction right before.
No, I was going to say that I liked how his evil is like coded into this and at like every level, that it's not. And the other thing that I do love too is I mentioned this when we were doing the Book of Anna, but one of the great parts of listening to Anna Karenina, the Constance Garnett translation, is the number of times that they say capital. That's capital. It's capital. Everything's capital. And on 240, he says it twice in a row. Capital, said Demon. Capital, he repeated. And then it has a reference to Tolstoy in that same paragraph. And references Demon preferred Walter Scott to Dickens and did not think highly of Russian novelists. But it's a fun. I do have two, based on someone said last week about the idea that that Marina is the mother of both Van and Ada.
Yeah.
There's one line that might hint at this.
There's a couple lines.
Okay. You had some others. I keyed in on one, is on 252, where it's talking about Marina, essentially dummy in human disguise, experienced no such qualms, lacking as she did that third sight, which many otherwise ordinary and conformant people may also possess, but without which memory is, let us face it, a stereotype or tear sheet. Then this: we do not wish to be too hard on Marina. After all, her blood throbs on our wrists and temples, and many of our magrims are hers, not his. And if Van's writing that, then it's sort of saying her blood is inside me.
Yes.
What ones did you find?
If we just go slightly before that on page 250, he drops just a small little nugget of when their affair, their tryst was taking place at the very bottom. 16 years had elapsed from the end of Marina's 3-year affair with Demon. So if we know the ages of her just turning 16, and Ada turning 16, him being 2 years older, and there's one more year behind that, that puts, if there is a pregnancy, right there perfectly, right before she gets married.
Yep.
So he drops that little nugget. And there's a little sneakier one that I really liked on 243. So there's this, in the just about a third of the way down, it starts with Van began Demon, but stopped as he begun, and stopped a number of times before, in the course of the last years. Someday it would have to be said, but this was not the right moment.
Oh, yeah.
It ends at the last sentence on that. Well, let us have the cognac as planned, unless you are a filius aquae, which is a son of water.
Right.
The joke meaning like you like water, but it's also meaning like, we'll do that unless you think Aqua is your mom.
Right. Right.
He is not. Right now it's set up that he is not a son of water. So there's a little.
That's so interesting.
That's a neat little breadcrumb, I think. Right.
Damn. Yeah. So I don't think unless this had come up last week, I don't think I would have paid attention to any of those.
Maybe not. Well, I might have done the Filius Aqua one. Filius, I don't know Latin. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Aqua, that one might have jumped out at me, especially with it beginning with that dramatic van, like, and then Sunday would have to be said, but this isn't the right time. And then that little kind of joke about unless you're going to drink water,
right?
Because and this also has a note at the end that gives you the translation as well on that.
Right.
Between that. Again, the timeline of when they were dating and why it would say that so specifically that way.
Mm-hmm.
The one I may not have picked up on was the same blood. I know that's like very overtly there. I just would have taken that as being something more, maybe metaphorical, not necessarily literal, but I would read it more as literal, given these pieces of evidence and really being attuned to it after last week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It get your radar up, I suppose. But this is how about their family dinner?
Yeah.
One family dinner.
Yeah, pretty. Well, first, I mean, it helps that he gets tanked before dinner even starts.
As you do.
Yeah. No, but again, like they're very keen on everything. Like, because is it Demon that picks up on the smoke smell right away? Because you had mentioned that before, right? Because we ended last episode. We ended with the smell. She comes back with the smell of smoke.
Yeah, her unknown lover was a heavy smoker.
Yeah, and then there's cigarettes that are going around at the dinner, and she goes to take one, and they had mentioned that. Oh, Dan will get really pissed if this happens, or I do it sometimes. It's fine. And he's like, you already smell like smoke, or there's a mention of her smelling like smoke again. So it's
yes. So that line too is really that interchange is great. You know quite well, said Marina, that your father disapproves of your smoking at table. Oh, it's all right, murmured Demon. I had Dan in view, explained Marina heavily. He's very prissy on that score. It's like, by the way, don't tell her that you're her dad. Fucking moron.
Yeah, that's on page 260.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and they actually use the word alibi.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When I don't know what Albany is. It's a type of cigarette, apparently. But, again, with the wordplay and the jokes, they accidentally call it I think I'll take an alibi. I think Van says that, right?
Yeah, he says, I think I'll take an alibi. Marina, Albany, myself. Please note, everybody, said Ada, how voulu that slip was. I like a smoke when I go mushrooming, but when I'm back, this horrid tease insists I smell of some romantic Turk or Albanian met in the woods. Well, said Demon, Van's quite right to look after your morals.
Holy cow. This chapter's bonkers, man.
It really is. I had so much stuff underlined in here.
Yeah, I had a really good time. It was fun. This one was fun to read.
Sure. And so I wonder what this war is supposed to be too. Because it sounds like a World War I, but we're, again, before any of that in time, so time and place don't mean anything.
Yeah, time is weird in this book.
Yeah.
Because we talked about it last week with, like sugar beverages, like Coke and stuff. And then someone mentioned bikinis and then films, like film productions and stuff. Like,
other films.
Yeah.
How are these people getting here from Hollywood to this place too?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's all, there's a lot of mystery there. But yeah, it references the war, which will come up again in a second.
It's Vietnam.
Yeah, it's Nam. Definitely Nam.
Shouldn't have been there, and Nabokov's writing this in this, what, 1969, 1970?
Yeah.
Vietnam.
Like, whatever. Like, it's what it is. I like impossible, my dear. They're all in heaven or on Terra. I'm still dying for more Terra stuff. I also wish that there was like a good map, because it references, I don't think this is a real place, but the Russians had been burnt by other Russians only 2 centuries earlier on the banks of the Great Lake of Slaves. That's not a real place, right?
No, not that I know of.
Yeah.
But it was also mentioned, is this the chapter that mentions that West Africans were the first, like some of the first people to discover what is America? And section?
I think so.
So I mean, it's obviously rewriting a different history. There weren't slave ships. I think it sounds to me like they were navigators that navigated their way here.
Yeah,
it was talking about, I thought, in the Gulf. Maybe when talking about, I can't remember exactly, but
I can't either. But I think I know.
Me too. The kind of part of the world building of Anti-Terra.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one mentioned a few places. Like I'm afraid you'll go to Terra and come back a better person. Or there's that mention, and then she kind of chides him or makes fun of him a little bit that he believes in it. Wasn't there that part where she's, "Oh, you're one of those ones that believe in that place"?
Yeah, where is that?
It was early on. I didn't write it down like a fool, but
I didn't either. But yeah, I do remember that too. I was just reading. I just happened upon this section, which is pretty great too. So Demon pulls on his gloves, so he's leaving. Demon pulled on his gloves and sped away with the great growl of damp gravel. That last kiss went a little too far, remarked Van, laughing. Oh well, his lips sort of slipped, laughed Ada, and laughingly they embraced in the dark as they skirted the wing of the house, like creepy as shit. And then he's like, what was faintly off key, Natak, about the whole evening? Asked Van softly. You noticed? Of course I did, and yet I adore him. I think he's quite crazy, and with no place or occupation in life, and far from happy, and philosophically irresponsible, and there's absolutely nobody like him. But what went wrong tonight? You were tongue-tied, and everything we said was falshibo. I wonder if some inner nose in him smelled you and me and you. He tried to ask me, oh, it was not a nice family reunion. What exactly went wrong at dinner? Oh, here it is.
Right. What went right?
Yeah, so he's kissing her. He kissed her half-closed lips gently and morally, as they defined moments of depth to distinguish them from despair of passion. Anyway, he said, it's fun to be 2 secret agents in an alien country. Marina has gone upstairs. Your hair is wet. Spies from Terra? You believe? You believe in the existence of Terra? Oh, you do. You accept it. I know you. I accept it as a state of mind. That's not quite the same thing. Yes, but you want to prove it is the same thing. And then he brushed her lips with another religious kiss. So there's your religion again.
Yeah,
its edge was starting to catch fire. There, yeah, yep.
And then again, I mentioned again 257 says, "Impossible, my dear. They are all in heaven or on Terra."
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's a lot of kind of that heaven, hell, religion, like
demons, smoke.
Demons and smoke. Like, yeah, there's like, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it all yet, but I'm liking it.
Yeah, me too. So there's also one of the other big motifs that comes up a lot in this section is referring to it like in novelistic ways. That was early on where it's like, let me see if I can find it again because I just passed it. But it was like continue. Yeah, it was on 250 to continue the novelistic structure. A long, delicious dinner, blah, blah, blah. Like the references to those things are throughout here. Even on 266, going on to chapter 39, she said, speaking as a character in an old novel, it seems so long ago. There's a lot of those references in this particular section that we stumbled upon too. This chapter is fun because Van kicks that kid's ass. Like, I remember getting into fights as a kid, as a young boy, and like it feels very much like they're wrestling on the ground.
Yeah, I wonder also too, because earlier on, they just kind of sprinkle in. There's that one line about that dreadful old wencher Tolstoy, the writer, is mentioned here as well. And this is the most kind of, for me, I thought this chapter was like, that most novelistic style of chapter where you have your basic scenes, you set up all the kind of setting and background and characters interacting, and it's longer and really driving longer. You're sitting in a scene longer. It really makes us aware of, here is your conventional, here's me at my most conventional, enjoy.
Yeah, here's a family dinner, like all those other Russian family dinners.
Yeah.
But so they go on essentially on a picnic. Husta is a great bit there. And then he and Percy get into a fight. But the part that I wanted to mention is where is it? Yeah, the Mademoiselle Lariviere is talking about England, where they like have all these problems with their books, where they say the wrong thing in French and they don't understand French. And then Decourt interjected, Van, but what about such atrocious bloomers and French translations from the English, as for example? And I love the idea that like errors are bloomers. That's so perfect. Bunch of bloomers in this. I'm going to try and adopt that. I'm going to submit an Alta panel for next year called Bloomers in Translation.
There you go.
Translation bloomers. There also is like the foreshadowing here of where Percy on 273, Percy, you were to die very soon, and not from that pellet in your fat leg on the turf of a Crimean ravine, but a couple of minutes later when you opened your eyes and felt relieved and secure in the shelter of the Maki. You were to die very soon, Percy. And then goes on, but he was drunk with lust in your heart and a sticky glass in your strong blonde-haired hand, listening to a literary bore, chatting with an aging actress, and ogling her sullen daughter. You reveled in the spicy situation, old sport. Chin-chin, and no wonder. Burly, handsome, indolent, and ferocious, a crack rugger player, a cracker of country girls. You combine the charm of the off-duty athlete with the engaging drawl of a fashionable ass. I think that what I hated most about your handsome moon face was that baby complexion, the smooth-skinned jaws of the easy shaver. I had begun to bleed every time and was going to do so for 7 decades. Like, Van's just like, fuck you, I still hate you. Stupid 16-year-old punk ass. I want to kick you.
It's interesting that he gives the is this like our first taste of like real violence in the book?
I think so.
Because we had talked about long before kind of like Chekhov's gun, right? Yep. And then there's another reference to Chekhov in this chapter.
Cherry Orchard.
And then he talks about I would die for my dad's honor. And then he mentions also about I may not be good with swords, but I'm a good shot with a pistol.
Right.
And so there's a lot of setup with like dueling and shootings, and then we have an altercation. So I think a lot of groundwork is being laid.
It then ends with like him asking if they're going to have a duel too.
Yeah.
Like they're being like, so we're going to finish this off. Yeah, and I imagine that my favorite part of their fight though isn't the beginning part, which is kind of funny because it seems very like sloppy boy fighting, but the part where after Van's walking away and he runs up from behind and jumps on him and Van just like flips him over and crushes him. It's like, yeah, take that. Percy or Perry or whatever your name is. Percy.
That's a great name for like I want to punch you in your blonde face.
Percy. What is it? It's Percy. It's got the long last name too.
Dupre.
Yeah, Percy Dupre.
Yeah. Is he a count? Is he your voice like Count Percy Dupre? Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. I don't know if I'll read into it or not, but we also get Van suffers his first injury as well, right? His first kind of setback with the knee injury that he gets.
Yeah.
Scuffle. And so I don't know if that's meaningful in any way or if it'll pay off in some way, but we see like a kind of being embarrassed. So I feel like he's kind of embarrassed with his father in having to interact with him and Ada at the same time. And then the jealousy boils over, the fight, and then the injury. So yeah, really curious to see what happens with those plot points.
I felt sympathy for him in this part too. So talking about how it goes back and forth, or like the last pull, he's like so creepy with Lucette and so like just not okay, so gross.
Yeah.
And then this time I feel sort of sympathy for him in this section, the dad section for sure, but then in here because he like Percy does seem like a prick and tries to like take him from behind. Like that's not cool. Like you can't, if you're gonna fight, you fight face to face. You don't jump someone from the back, right? And then like he's embarrassed about it to Ada as well, and sort of like that embarrassing. Like I don't know if you got into fights as a kid, but I remember being at a family reunion and getting in a fight with some distant family members over like whatever, something stupid. And like, just, you're so embarrassed afterwards. You're like, why did I do that? Like, what was I doing? And like with her, he wants her like to be like, it's okay, man. You stood up for my honor in some way. And so she finally like sort of does, like she smiles at him, I believe. And it says that he, that then it's okay. I can't find it.
And again, but even that backfires on him, right? Because of the letter.
So let's go to the letter. So yeah, so he says to her, he writes in her thing, I don't wish to see him. So Ada's reading a book. He wants to tell, Van wants to tell her something. So he writes in her book, I don't wish to see him again. It's serious. Tell M not to receive him or I leave. No answer required. And then there's the next letter. So there's the Percy to Prey one where he sends a letter being like, a couple of days I leave, blah, blah, blah.
Page 23 for listeners, yeah. And
then he gets the letter in his breast pocket that's basically like, God damn it, where is it? That before he goes down to dinner, where it says, can you find it? I'm lost for a second here. Basically, it's like, I don't want to keep a secret. I found this in my pocket. She read it, yes, but where is the actual words that it says? But it's basically, my assumption was that it's indicating that Ada has someone else.
Is it the one that's addressed to your V?
Yeah. Well, no. 287. The novelistic theme of written communications has now really gotten to its stride. When Van went up to his room, he noticed, with a shock of grim premonition, a slip of paper sticking out of the heart pocket of his dinner jacket. Penciled in a large hand, with the contour of every letter deliberately whiffled and rippled, was the anonymous injunction, "One must not burn you." Only a French-speaking person would use that word for dupe. Among the servants, 15 at least were of French extraction, descendants of immigrants who had settled in America after England had annexed their beautiful and unfortunate country in 1815. To interview them would be absurd. To interview them all, torture the males, rape the females. That's an interesting way to think of interviewing someone. Would be, of course, absurd and degrading. But I assume that one must not dupe you is a reference to that. I was taking it as that Ada's got someone else. And that they know that, but they don't want to lie to him or trick him, but he's being tricked or deceived by her.
Yeah.
But we end with that as a cliffhanger, essentially.
Yeah, she notices something's the matter with him. She's, hey, what's up? And he says, your obedient servant at the very end of it, right?
Yeah. And this chapter has a lot of it was not the sly demon smile of remembered or promised ardor, but the exquisite human glow of happiness and helplessness. And that passage is funny too, because it's one of the ones where it becomes very meta, where they stood brow to brow, brown to white, black to black. He's supporting her elbows, she playing her limp, light fingers over his collarbone, and how he laddered, he said, the dark aroma of her hair blending with the crushed lily stalks, Turkish cigarettes, and the lassitude that comes from lass. No, don't, she said. I must wash, quick. Ada must wash. But for yet another immortal moment, they stood embraced in the hushed avenue, enjoying, as they had never enjoyed before, the happy forever feeling at the end of a never-ending fairy tales. That's a beautiful passage, Van. I shall cry all night. Late interpolation. Where it's another one of those, like, Ada's, like, inserting in there.
Yeah.
But like this section ended up with a lot of that like novelistic thing, or
and I really feel like we're kind of at the we had talked about how he comes back and he can't regain that first summer that he had. And in this one, she even mentions that, you know, she's 16 now, and this was like the age that my grandma divorced, or
my first divorces at this.
Like, I gotta grow up and get ready to die. I'm 16, so you know, it's like. But the idea that like this will be our last picnic. Like we're not kids anymore. We're like I'm an adult now, and so I think it's also like again that kind of that change that never. I don't know. He's writing about like recapturing this past, and it's totally slipping away. It's gone. You're never having this again.
Yeah,
and you can really feel that with how the burning passion of the moment, the light, the whatever. It tries to get back into that more innocent way of describing it that we had read earlier, and less of that kind of vulgar way that we had the episode before. It shifted tone back into more of that kind of like glowing, like golden hour way of describing the setting and the pictures.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting. They'll leave us off with like a bit of a cliffhanger of sorts. And apparently, like Pedro's coming back from California. Giving Pedro things, filming this Accursed Children movie.
Accursed Children. I'm waiting to see how that one plays out.
I know, too. It'll be great.
If we ever get to see the Accursed Children movie or part of the shooting screenplay or parts of it, well, one of the games we'll have to play this season is to write the trailer voiceover for the movie The Accursed Children.
Yes, absolutely.
And each one has to start with "in a world."
In a world
where
cousins are actually brother and sister. Hey.
Demon days of summer. Yeah.
Holy shit. So this is the last. Next week we're gonna finish part 1 and move into part 2, which I'm very excited for because I'm curious, knowing that his obsession with like structure and with like and with different shifts of point of view, like even in the Defense, I remember that book is sort of set up as like going in one direction and then taking like a really wicked like left turn as if we were like designed to move like a chess piece, like the knight. And a lot of the books seem to do that. And I'm curious with something this ambitious and this large, if like these next parts are going to be how they're going to interact with the first part, if they're going to like be different in a different and have a different tone, have a different like focus. I want to see what they're going to be like. Yeah, with all the references to Tolstoy so far, it almost makes me wonder: is this memoir kind of going to be like that trilogy with Boyhood and the phases of growing up, right? Because I can kind of see it playing out with like I Lost That Summer. This is the barn and the end of Innocence. So I'm curious to see if time works like that in here. If we're going to see the progression. Yeah. So just mention too that like part of what you're saying about trying to get back that first summer feeling comes up with the ride back with Lucette on his knee. It's kind of innocent, more innocent attempt, but like also like but yes, definitely. I think little creepy applies to every part of it. Yeah, it's like the baseline is little creepy. Yeah, that's the color of all the walls, and now some pretty pictures on it. The whole room's a little creepy, but well furnished. Very well furnished. No, it's just the writing in this is just staggering. It's so good. Yeah, and then it has these fun bits like swoony balloony. I circled that as like that's fucking great. Yeah. You remember the pang of pleasure, the indulgent skirt Ada had been wearing then. So swoony balloony, as the chose young thing said. It's like he could just put in anything. Bloomers, like it works so well. It's so great. Do you have a favorite line from this section or anything else that you want to add to it? Nothing to add. I'll do a line. I like this one off of 240 when he's seeing his father and giving him all of his affection to his father at the bottom. Van kissed his father's hairy fist, which was already holding a not yet visible glass of liquor.
Despite, despite the manly impact of all their Irishness, all Veens who had Russian blood revealed much tenderness and ritual overflows of affection while remaining somewhat inept in its verbal expression.
That's great.
I just like, I can't tell you I love you, Dad, but I'm going to kiss your hand, and I'm so glad you're here.
Here's mine because I want to stick with the little creepy theme. It's from 286. It's like my favorite euphemism. The sweetness of her smile was something quite unexpected and special. It was not the sly demon smile of remembered or promised ardor, but the exquisite human glow of happiness and helplessness. All their passionate pump joy exertions from Burning Barn to Burnberry Brook were nothing in comparison to this Zaychek, this sunblick of the smiling spirit. I just love passionate pump joy exertions.
Sure.
Yeah. That's a phrase.
Yeah, this is just so good, man. There's these things are the lines are just so heavy and coiled with just weighted, fantastic word choices. Yeah.
Yes, very much. Well, so for next week, we're going to be going through the rest of part 1 and then the first 2 chapters of part 2. So up to page 346. And then what I teased online and at the beginning of this is that this season will wrap up on November 17th, like essentially the week before Thanksgiving, I think, like around there, as if Thanksgiving's a thing anymore, whatever. But then what we want to do next as the next book after this is to go from someone who has kind of wrote the Great American Novel to a Great American Novelist for once, and have us read J.R. by William Gaddis, which is being reissued by New York Review Books later this month in October. You can order it from them, from your local bookstore, from wherever. And there are lots of different editions of this, because there is like the Penguin edition was the main one that I think a lot of people know, the Penguin Classics version, which uses certain page numbers that match the hardcover. And then there's a Delkey version that I think matches that as well. And I believe the New York Review of Books one is a different page system. So no matter what book you have, I have all of them. So I'm going to find a way to like map out which sections we're doing so that they all match. But there are various versions available. The new one from New York Review of Books has an introduction by Joy Williams to it. So that'll be pretty cool. But JR is one of my favorite books of all time, but it's been like almost 20 years since I read it. It's like all in dialogue. It's incredibly funny. Right now, I know everyone hates Amazon, but on Amazon, this the listing for JR, for the NYRB version, 2 things of note. One, it is 1.89 pounds, which is...
What is it getting me into?
That's a good number. And right now, it is the bestseller rank of number 631 in the lawyers and criminals humor category.
Oh, wow.
It is, and you haven't read it before, which
no,
is,
I'm not.
You really have to, because I think you're going to love this book, because it's the way that Gaddis creates voices that are distinctive and are unmarked throughout most of the text. How he handles that is absolutely fascinating from like a craft perspective. And it's a big, crazy book about money and stocks and children and schooling and society. And it is like, it's a romp, and it's also just a gigantic, ambitious novel. I started reading Frolic of His Own, the only Gaddis book I haven't finished, the other day. It's also printed in like type that is so small it's like an assault on your eyes. But it's another law one that's very funny, and it's super amazing.
Awesome.
It was the first time that in a while I was reading, I was just like laughing out loud hysterically.
So they are the NYRB edition.
That would be the best one to get. If you have one of the other ones, because a lot of people do, I'll match up the page count when I finally get this, so that we can follow along with whatever you have. But that'll be season 14. We'll start it in like December and probably run until like February.
Sounds like a perfect winter book to...
It's an 800-page book.
Bunker in and read something long and hard. Sounds good.
Yeah. Well, it snows and everyone dies of COVID.
Perfect. I'm not afraid of it anymore.
All you have to do is just beat it.
All you have to do is just ride a helicopter to your own private hospital and you're fine.
Totally. I mean, like, I'm ready to do that. I'm ready to go. Okay, man. Thanks. It's good to talk to you.